All right, so what people need to understand is that the body doesn't just have waste in the center of the intestine. It permeates the entire system. So we only begin the waste removal process when we start to remove what's sitting in the center of our intestine. Then we get to the much deeper waste. The body is completely porous. Everything moves through the body. So, we have this whole new lease on life when we're not sitting baking in our own waste. That's really what's happening. People need to understand that. That's why they're sick. That's why they have acne. That's why they have headaches. That's why they have joint problems. That's why they have breakouts everywhere. That's why they don't sleep well. That's why they have all these bowel issues. It's all connected to this waste in the body that shouldn't be there. It's a saturation. It sounds horrible, but it's true. It's a saturation in one's own excrement. And that's why if you wake up in the morning, you haven't eaten for whatever, 6, 8, 10 hours, there's so much noxious smell because the body's been cleaning house. It's trying to get this stuff out. And it has no exit. It's like Jean-Paul Sartre's no exit. It's a waste existential dilemma. There's no exit. So we need to create that exit. And we create that exit through the intestine, which is so ready, willing, and able and delighted to give up its waste through that channel. It's made for it. It's completely made for it. And it's not meant to be sitting there full of waste. It's meant to be empty. Now, we're living in a modern world. We're coming in with defunct organs, with genes that are tired, lineage that's tired and worn down, has been beaten down and has been distorted, unfortunately, because of improper living for generations. So we come in with that already weakened system, and then what do? We put substances inside that were never meant for the human body to begin with. So it's a double whammy. It's like saying, okay, you're the weak one, so you do the hard work. You would never do that. So we're giving impossible work to an organism that is already so severely compromised. What's going to happen? That organism is not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be energized. It's not going to be happy. And what happens if this implicates our sleep? If it has a negative effect on our sleeping patterns, well, if we don't produce the necessary melatonin at night when it's dark and we're sleeping, then we're not going to have its sister hormone, serotonin, appear the next day. Serotonin makes us happy. So lack of sleep is going to make us happy, but why are we not sleeping? Well, our bowel is full of stuff that it's affecting our head, and it's making us jittery, and and then we're taking substances to either help give us energy or calm us down, and the whole pituitary system goes haywire. All because why? Because we're sitting with this distress in our midsection. So, it's simple things like that. A clean bowel equates to a good night's sleep. A good night's sleep equates to happiness the next day. I have a life that's manageable despite the intense stress I'm met with every day from external circumstances that I can deal with, like I'm on the battlefield with these really nifty swords, because in here, everything is good. Everything feels great. And, and when I began this journey, when I was 24, 25, my body, my mind, my spirit was in such a state of distress. Physically, I was totally deteriorating. I carried way too much extra weight for my frame. I was miserable about that, and I was incredibly frustrated. I had so much cellulite, and I thought that was going to be a lifelong thing. I thought I was going to spend my life hating my body and battling with my body. And it was so depressing because, it used to be, I was able to say I grew up in a very image-conscious place. I grew up in Los Angeles. But now the whole world is so image-conscious. So it's not even about that. It's like everybody's feeling this pressure to look a certain way. And yet the options for consumption and norms around consumption are such that you would never be able to look even remotely the way you might like to, or the way you're being encouraged to look if you consume those things. It's impossible. It's another one of those dichotomies that the world throws at you. It says, and then you have models who say, oh yeah, I eat hamburgers all the time, and no, you don't, and you're just wanting to act. It's like girls who act like they like football, No, you don't. You actually don't like sitting there watching football, but you're going to act like you are because you think the boys are going to like that, You're going to act like you can eat hamburgers and stay really skinny because you think that's like the unattainable, so it makes you special. And we know that hamburgers don't make you skinny. We know that some girls legitimately do like watching American football and rugby, but most girls don't really enjoy it that much. So let's get honest, let's be authentic, let's not try to pretend, let's not put all this artificiality on ourselves, and realize that artificiality that we put inside and on ourselves is what's making us so sick. Even the stuff that we're putting on our skin, we have to recognize that the things that we're spraying around us. Even going to the beach, when I see people spraying all this sunscreen on themselves, it's all chemicals, it's so bad, and they're breathing it, it's going to their lungs. It's it's horrendous, but that we can get rid of the residue of the chemicals from things like that through colonics. And when you have your home colonic unit, you can you keep the consistency going to the point where whenever you have time, you can actually use it. So you can use it once a week, you can use it 6 times a week, you can use it as it suits your schedule and as it suits your goals. So if you're suffering acutely from heavy metal poisoning or radiation, or you have been diagnosed with something, like the big C, you can get right to work turning that around, because those are symptoms of saturation of waste. Those are symptoms of having something in the body that should never have been there to begin with. But radiation is going to lodge itself in the waste. It's going to go in. It's going to be in the tissue, which has the waste component in it. So when we expunge this waste from the tissue, we're going to expunge the radiation and the heavy metals right there with it. So it is actually a chelation process. Chelation basically means the removal of substances that shouldn't be in the body, especially things like radiation and heavy metals. So it's the pulling out, it's the removing, it's the suctioning out of. And what people need to understand is you don't remove waste until you remove the waste. You don't remove it by taking charcoal tablets. You don't remove it by eating a lot of cilantro. It's a big thing. Like, heavy metals, eat lots of cilantro. I mean, any dark leafy green is going to help alkalinize, magnetize the radiation, the heavy metals up and out of the cells and tissues. But that isn't cleansing. That is prepping for a cleanse. That is gathering. It's putting the garbage in the bags. We have to get it out. We have to get it out of the house into into the great beyond. Hopefully, not to create. I mean, this is the thing. We have to change our lives so that we're not. So once we take out this noxious stuff, we don't keep damaging the earth with what we're consuming. So then, but see, here's the beautiful thing. It becomes so easy to eat cleanly once you clear your intestine. I liken it to people who tell me that, for example, they were a smoker, but when they got into yoga, they stopped smoking. They didn't try to, but something about this connection with the breath, it just made no sense anymore. They didn't have the same compulsion to smoke. So in the same way, when we're making the effort and having the success of removing all this waste matter, we're not going to have the compulsion to go and put that same stuff inside of us. And we're also not going to resonate with those things that cause so much damage. It's going to be, because our palate is going to change. As we remove all this waste, we get rid of the addiction with it. So in this waste, we have radiation, we have heavy metals, we have the chemicals, we have the addictive substances, we have the pathogens, which are what drive the desire to keep consuming the things like the sugar and the alcohol and the recreational drugs and and then wind up giving you the need for the pharmaceutical drugs to help address them, when all they're doing is creating more imbalance. So we remove the residue of all of those things in the colon irrigation process. It's extraordinary. And once you realize, you think, oh my gosh, I can actually fix all of these problems by getting this waste out of my system. And it's all in my hands. I can do it on my timetable in the privacy of my own space. And I can watch fun YouTube videos while I do it, or play my favorite tunes. And I can watch in real time. I can watch and experience this stuff leaving my body. It's like standing in your house and watching, those shows where they come in and they renovate your house. It's like that. It's like you're just watching it. It's happening. And you don't have to wait for it. You have it right away, And then that day, you're going to live a cleaner day. You're not going to want to have this other stuff that you used to have in your life. It's not going to be that hard for you. You might, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if you're in the corporate world or wherever you are in an office, and the cookies come out and the hot chocolate comes out and everyone's getting their third latte for the day or whatever it is, or the M&Ms and the gummy bears, and because everyone wants that stimulation to keep going and to feel, like something, even some pleasure, because these spaces are not where we're supposed to be spending our day to begin with. You won't feel like you have to have that. You won't have to overcome this very difficult temptation. It won't be a temptation for you. You'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then you'll have something else. You'll have your tea. You'll have your carrots. You'll have your goat cheese. You'll have your avocado sandwich. You'll have something else that you can arrange for yourself, but you won't have the addiction where you're feeling like you're struggling to avoid something that shouldn't be in yourself to begin with. So it makes it easy to overcome temptation. It makes it easy, not even to overcome it, it makes it easy to walk away from temptation and not repeat the same cycles and patterns in your life that are killing you, that are depressing you, that are making your hormones secrete poorly and giving you all sorts of, we don't just have male pattern baldness anymore. Now we have female pattern baldness. This is a problem. This is showing the body is speaking. The body doesn't like the saturation of waste. This is a symptom of a body that's become a landfill, a body that's had to compromise its real estate that should be this florid garden for this stuff that can't leave because it was never designed to be in the body to begin with. The body doesn't know what to do with it, so it just stores it and it says, well, maybe tomorrow I'll get a chance to do something with it, maybe. But no, tomorrow you wind up putting more, the body winds up having to contend with a whole new onslaught of things it has to deal with. So it shoves it down. It's like someone who takes on a office manager job, and they really want to be an artist or an actor, and so the paperwork just keeps on piling up, and they're like, okay, we'll deal with that maybe tomorrow. It's like the body does not want to procrastinate. It really wants to clean and clear, and this is what we get to see when we give it the opportunity. We create the circumstances, the conditions for cleansing, and the body's on it. It's like it's on like Donkey Kong. Right? It's like ready to go. It was made for this. There are aspects to the blueprint of our body that are made for cleansing. It's all it wants to do. It's like people talk about the cannabinoid receptors and why we're supposed to be inclined to, why there's a strong connection between the human body and the cannabis plant. It's the same thing with cleansing. It's just made for it. And we get those receptors going when we invite the pathways to clear and cleanse. Primarily, we do that with the large intestine, through colon irrigation. We also do it through the mouth, through tongue scraping, getting a metal tongue scraper. And the more you use your tongue scraper, the more waste that comes out of your mouth, which is actually a good thing, believe it or not. It means that the mouth is able to get rid of waste that would otherwise cause dental issues and halitosis and throat and digestive issues, because all that waste is constantly moving up and down, the pathogens moving up and down. And we do it through our skin. We, if we know how to care for our skin by body brushing, by using scrubbing gloves, by using organic soaps and nothing but, and very, very pure oils on the skin like coconut oil, we enable the skin to be, it is the largest organ, but we enable it to be the great second largest eliminative organ, which it's meant to be second to the colon. And suddenly, we're moving this waste out. And what happens when we move the waste out? We become young again. What happens with that house when the waste comes out? The walls aren't stinking anymore. Everything has a chance to. If you think about a house that's alive, I know it's not exactly like the same, but a house that has consciousness and knows what to do, it will start to clear and clean. So we have this great opportunity to do so. It's just a matter of getting your head around the fact that water needs to go. I call it up the wazoo, and it's funny because azu comes from azure, and so I love and water. So we have the wazoo. So I thought that was a great connection. So we get the water up the wazoo, and we reconstitute the waste that's sitting there waiting to go, that's clogging and blocking everything and giving you head fog and making you, de-energizing you more and more every day and messing with your hormone receptors and your hormone releases, secretions, so that you can't sleep properly. All this gets fixed just by emptying what's sitting in the large intestine. And then we just keep going with that. And we just rinse and repeat, literally rinse and repeat. And then you can watch the transformation. Don't take my word for it. Do it. Watch it happen. It's universal. It happens the same way with everyone. It would be like, one dishwasher or a dishwasher only working for 50% of the families. It doesn't work like that. A good dishwasher, a good colon cleansing unit works for everyone. The concept and the application, if done properly, it works for everyone because that's just the way things work. You clean something, it upgrades, it gets better, it's more useful. It's no longer, if you think about the term functional versus dysfunctional, what it means is it useful? What does it mean to be useful? It means that something is upgraded. It actually becomes something that can be used to improve your life or someone else's life or the life of the community. So what we're walking around with in the modern world are these dysfunctional bodies. They're not useful. They're not acting for our highest good or for the highest good of others and the community. They're actually bringing everything down. So by cleaning them, by cleansing, we actually take a dysfunctional organism and we make it functional. And then what comes next is, beyond expectation, because our unique essence has something to bring the world. But if it's underneath all this, this landfill stuff, we never actually get to our true essence. So we wind up acting out these artificial personalities, these aspects of ourselves that we were never born with. We develop them to contend with the world. We develop them as a kind of crutches and aspects for dealing with these artificial interactions we're forced to have all day long, every day, because this world does not serve the natural blueprint of life, the network of life. It serves the artificial, which is why everyone is so suppressed and confined to limitations that feel so uncomfortable, but we don't know what to do about them. Well, here's one thing you can do about it. You can start releasing all that artificiality that you had to flood your human real estate with, and then see what happens to you next. See what you tap into. See how beautiful that fauna and flora and natural essence is that comes through. And you'll actually start to understand why in the Buddhist philosophy we nod to each other's divinity and consider ourselves to be the embodiment of something very, very holy.